This is going to be an open discussion, and I was just saying to Alice, we are going to poll the team. I think I said that in the message pod to see if there's a better time because I know for me 8:30 is late, and I know from Katie's comfy spot 8:30 is late for her too. But um, we're keeping some things the same through the end of the month. So one thing that we're just going to open it up for discussion, but one thing that I loved when I started reading this book, I'm not done it, and that was not the point of this call, but just to like start chatting about it to make sure people
Mhm.
are reading it. I love that she shared the science behind when they looked at all the NBA teams and how the ones that won championship statistically high-fived each other more throughout the season. I thought that was so cool. And you know I love sports. So I thought it was super interesting. And it's like, how can we incorporate that more into our lives for ourselves, but also the people around us that we love and care about, right? Because I mean, having kids and having a spouse, like that transfer of energy is so important. And I actually got my reading done tonight, my 10 minutes for the day, because I didn't have time this morning. But I was just gonna kick it off with this reading and then I want y'all to chime in. But this one hit home because you guys know that, change is going on and for you guys too. But this one hit home today for me. And it said, life sucks at times. When you feel like you just can't catch a break, no matter how hard you try, you just have to keep going. This mantra, you have to trust that there is something amazing happening that you can't see right now, is like your own personal halftime locker room speech. Have a good cry and then dust yourself off and keep fighting for what you want. If you give up on you. You must tell yourself something better is coming and keep going. And in that moment, that's what I did. This is mentally what it looks like to high five yourself forward. Every day, I assured myself that my hard work would be rewarded and that something I couldn't see was in store for me. All I needed to do was be patient and persistent, and it would be revealed. The more I practiced this high five attitude, the more I believed it. And I was like, ooh, that's a good one. Because I don't know how you guys feel or if you've been doing the high fives actually. But to be honest, it's a little weird for me at first, but I'm
Very.
into it. But want your guys' thoughts and if there's any like specific passages that you highlighted or hit you or you thought about. This is open.
Well, I know whenever I high five someone and it's not like it's not the right pressure, it's not the right sound, it feels weak. I'm like, nope, we got to do that again because that just wasn't right. So when I started high fiving myself, at first I was like, well, that's a really shitty high five. Like, what the fuck is this? Because it felt really, really weird. It's like, dude, here I am standing in the mirror, brushing my hair, and I'm like, boop. And I'm like, really? Like, really, Alice, this is what we're doing now? But the more I did it, I was like, oh, yeah, no, high five. Yep, you're having a great day. This is awesome.
It's so true because it's funny you said this. It just made me think of this. My friend's husband at the concert, he was just like high-fiving everyone. We went to Justin Timberlake on Friday. But he has told me on multiple occasions that you can't just do a wimpy high five. Like it comes from the motion of your elbow and being strong in that like forward motion. So I hadn't really thought about that like to myself because I too have just been like, all right, like saying some sort of affirmation or something.
Yeah.
Um, but that's really so do you make your son redo it if he doesn't do it?
Oh, I make everybody redo it. Honestly, if it's you, Katie, whoever, I don't care. Be like, nope, that was a crappy high five. We need to do that again.
Yeah, there was a guy, they moved upstairs that, so we are on two floors at work, but there was a guy that nine times out of 10, if we just walked past each other in the hall at work, we would just high five. And if it was bad, we'd be like, when he came back around, we were like, all right, we gotta do it again.
Yeah.
But were you guys doing that before you read this book or
Yeah,
you
we would just randomly walk down the hall past each other and just high five each other.
That's cool.
That's good though. But like, imagine if you start making that more part of the culture of your teams, even at work or with your kids or wherever it may be.
Yeah. There's some days I'm like, I want to go upstairs and just like the way we have the cubes and stuff laid out, just run through the floor and just high five everybody.
You should make that your thing, Katie.
They would, yeah, I could.
Why
Then I'd be
not?
like, she's lost her mind, but that's nothing new for me.
Get a song that's like your game song. It's like a walkout in specifically in like concert venues, they make like walkout tunnels for the artists to come out on stage with like lights and music and all this stuff. Like it's the same kind of thing. It's like bringing energy to the room.
Yep.
But we're just so like used to doing whatever and floating through the day, we forget about those like intentional things.
Yep.
Yep.
So what else have you liked from the book, Katie?
Yeah, I think just forcing it to be a part of me and my routine, like on my own, right? Like she talks about, hey, like, oh, you feel it with everybody else, but then forcing yourself to be like, why can't you feel it with yourself? Like it doesn't stop there.
Like more of checking in with yourself and how you're feeling?
Yeah. Yep. And right now it's tired.
Okay. Yeah. That's why I said I would prefer that we change this time, but we're here now. So,
Yeah. Well, I also like over the last 2 days have walked like 9.5, 10 miles. So,
Nice.
and
good.
that's literally, I ran errands yesterday morning and then I've just been cleaning.
Well, so how have you been? Have you guys both been feeling like with the book club, you've been putting in more personal development time or more intentional with it?
I
I,
feel
f-
I have.
I was gonna say, I feel like I've had the routine. I think just knowing we're all working towards the same book and have the conversation on it that, that's a big piece of it. And I think, we're seeing it through the pod as well, just how many people are like, this is helping me from that standpoint because this is how I got to start reading books that were good for my brain. Like I've probably read 50 books almost this year that are novels. And so that was never the issue. It was like trying to read stuff that I would call good for my brain. And so I think this just really helps us as a group say, yes, we can all do it. And here's how you do it. And it's the only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time.
You and your fun quotes.
Love
What?
that.
You and your fun quotes.
It's
Well,
true.
yeah. So expand on that a little bit more. Like, what else besides high-fiving yourself in the mirror every day? Like, how has this book made you think a little bit differently the last 2 weeks?
I think, just being more aware of myself in the mirror, right? Like she said, yeah, I think she talked about it in the book, right? Like when you're brushing your teeth or brushing your hair or doing whatever, your mind's already going,
Mhm.
right? And you're already going through, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. Oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And this is a great way to be like, hey, check in both not just with yourself, but the mental piece, but the physical piece. And be like, oh wow, like I didn't this is something I appreciate about myself.
Mhm.
Because I think especially us as women are so hard on ourselves that when we look in the mirror, we only see the flaws and not the anything positive, like from that standpoint. And I think she really, with this, it's like stop, be where your feet are, and learn to start to look for the good in you or something you can appreciate about yourself that day.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I've been like asking the wins every day because it's like even on those days where so many of us feel like, well, there was no win, like there's always a win. There's always a good. You have to just be intentionally looking for it and checking in and reflecting. Like to your point, Katie, I feel like we go so far, so fast, so far on to the next thing, multitasking, scrolling, then looking what everyone else is doing. And then when did you ever actually check in with yourself and like woosah and remind yourself like I did that thing, like that got off my list or that went really well. Um, and maybe even like taking it a step further, like how are you checking in with your spouse every day and telling them those wins or sharing those things that are good in your life, right? Because we easily can get disconnected in the craziness of our lives when we don't connect and let them know what's actually going on in our brains, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely. And then for me to piggyback a little bit off of what Katie said, and even it also piggyback because I stopped reading Worthy to start this book. And it kind of mirrors a little bit because it she focuses a lot on your brain and the way you think and the self-talk and the self-doubt. And I know that Worthy is a lot about that too, so far from what I've read. So I'm really liking that aspect for me because that's a big component of what I've always done. Whenever shit has hit the fan for me, it's like, okay, well, let me go down my negative self-talk checklist because I actually did it the other day. And I texted Ethan and he was like, listen, he's like, don't feel that way. He's just like, whatever it is, we'll deal with it. It's okay. You just have to stop thinking like that. And then I got home, I read my book a little bit, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm feeling better. And also, I even took a picture of the part right after she mentioned the NBA teams and the science behind that, how you could use it, the high five in your business with the goals and stuff. And just the first two paragraphs about it, right after where in bold she says, crushing your business goals as a team. I read it, I took a picture of it, and I sent it to a few of my coworkers, and I was like, wow, I don't have that trust with my whole team as a whole. And that has been sticking with me. So once my job responsibilities are just my own, I'm definitely going to reevaluate because this has definitely starting to open my eyes up a lot more.
That's super interesting, Alice. Like, I think that it's like, how do we help our community read more, right, of these intentional things? Because it really does make you reflect and be aware of what's actually happening in your life. Because when you're just on the do path, you never take a second.
Nope,
The second we feel bored or like we don't have anything going on, what do we do?
all the time. Yep.
Right? I mean, we all
Yep.
do it. So it's like instead, how can we catch ourselves in those moments and take a moment to journal on your growth app of what you read or do an evening check-in? Like, I don't know if you guys, because I know you both have growth day, but one thing I really love in there when I'm like feeling overwhelmed, especially or like in that negative place, because I wanted to wrap back around to what you said, Alice. I
Mhm.
love under the journal tab, there's like a weekly review, an evening review.
Yeah, I'm gonna start doing that again. I was doing that solid for a while, and then life happens, and I was like, okay, well, but I
But I
do need
like,
to go back
yeah,
around.
I like those because it makes it simple to check in with yourself and to
Mhm.
use your phone for good instead
Right.
of scrolling. So let's talk about that for a few minutes. Like when you get in the negative self-talk, if of course it's no offense, it's easy for Ethan to be like, well, just don't think that way.
It
But
is.
how, like, what can we actually do when that negative self-talk comes again, or if there's things that like Katie, you've done in those moments that are helpful instead of, because sometimes when someone tells you like, well, just don't think that way, it's like, okay, but like, how do I actually do that? Right?
You want to punch them in the face and be like, if it was that easy, I would have
I
already
would have
done
already done
that.
it. Yeah. I mean,
Uh, sometimes if I'm really down in my rabbit hole, yes, I'm just like, well, yeah, no shit, motherfucker. Like, really,
mhm.
like, hello, I know that. But 9 times out of 10, I've noticed that a lot of that is when I'm at work. So I will text him, I'll read his text, or I'll chat with him for a quick second, and then I'll end up getting distracted with work, and then I won't think about it again. But it's not always going to happen at work. Although, lately personal life has been wonderful. Slacking on workouts and whatever, but we're not going down that hole right now.
Well, I think one thing for me is like physically move your body. Like, even if it's get up and move for 5 minutes, like, hey, take a walk around the office or go, hey, I need to run to my car for a minute and walk outside. I think that doing that, you, as subconscious as all of those movements are, they force your brain to switch anyway. And so it's almost like you have a dial and you're able to almost completely turn it off just by moving your body for a few minutes.
Well, it's almost like removing from a situation, even though it's not really a situation.
Yeah.
Mentally, it's a situation. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, literally be like, hey, I need to run to my car to a minute. Literally
Yeah,
walk out to your car, turn around and walk right back in.
right.
Or blast your favorite song along the way. Yeah, whatever can be that flip of a switch. I mean, I've looked at, like Katie's saying, like, okay, these last 2 weeks have been overwhelming. And it's like, where do you start? Like, that's why I specifically went kayaking today, where there was no cell service for 5 hours, because I just needed to disconnect and be just me, because I don't do that often enough, but that's like why I walk every single night. And disconnect, because it's, again, when I'm walking, you also have to kind of focus on walking. You can't really sit on your phone and scroll. I mean, you can, but like not as easily, especially in the city. I gotta like pay attention to what's going on. So I completely agree with what Katie's saying of like put yourself in a different space physically so that the mental can kind of catch up there. Um, even like I even know some coworkers, they go on like different floors and just go listen to a song when they get like annoyed or too bored or overstressed, so that like nobody can just walk by their desk and be like, "Oh, hey, I need to talk to you." And you're like, "I'm having a mental breakdown in my head."
I need 5 minutes.
Yes, yes. Um, well, what else? What else? We'll do like 5 more minutes. Was there anything else that you guys have taken for this? And or do you have any other suggestions for books for next month? Was one of the questions I had. And you can get back to me on it too.
Yeah, personal development book wise, that's still a new area for me. So I don't know if I'll personally have any suggestions. Although when I do have to say, when I did message some of my coworkers that aren't directly in my department, that excerpt from the book, they're like, "What book is this from?" Like, because I need this. I'm like, "Here you go." I'm like, "Hop on it. This is what my team's reading right now. It's freaking great."
So, letting you in on a little secret, we will have a mindset only component of our new community space. And so
Awesome.
that will be a way that you guys can bring in other people that might be interested in this similar thing, because I totally envision like a career guided mindset book club every single month, because the three of us totally get that, how beneficial it is. And that's definitely something that I have been toying around in my brain. So that's cool to hear, Alice. What else? What else? When are you specifically reading? Are you guys finding yourself making it more of an intentional daily thing because you're in the book club?
I am.
Yeah, I would say yes.
I'm not reading at a specific time, like you are, Danielle. I know you're spot on. I just whenever I'm like, okay, no, I've noticed that I haven't been scrolling on my phone as often, and I do have my weekly usage that automatically pops up. And I was almost an hour less than I was the week before, and I'm like, oh yes, I'm like, awesome, this is great. So I notice that when I do want to go for my phone, I'm like, hey, you know what? Let me just read for a little bit. And I'll just read and I'll highlight and I'll just go. Sometimes it's longer than 10 minutes. I don't usually time myself. I'll just go.
But you know what's interesting about that is that you're tracking something specific that you want to improve. And because you have the metrics, you know how to divert yourself.
Right.
So it's the same thing with, I know you didn't want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it. It's the same thing
Yeah.
with your workouts,
Yep.
right? Your nutrition. So if you want to improve something in your life, the easiest and simplest way to do it is to start tracking it and evaluating it and having a physical check-in reminder, whether it's a literal meeting on your calendar every day that you need to show up for yourself. Um, I would encourage you to pick something to start tomorrow, Alice, to show up for you and moving your body because we all know movement and mindset go hand in hand.
Yes, they
It's
do.
going to be harder to elevate your mindset if movement's not a non-negotiable in your life. And I'm not saying it has to be a workout, it can be a walk, 30 minutes.
Right.
But moving your body in some way, at least 30 minutes a day, is so vital because it makes
Yes.
it easier to navigate what we know those obstacles will come up. Um, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Katie.
No, I think that's spot on from that standpoint. Really, just we it almost feel like maybe going into the new year, maybe we do something like tiny habits that gets into like habit stacking.
Mhm.
Um, from that with hey, like how you build your new routine come the new year, and maybe that's December spoke or something, but it's just I think that's something we all that we struggle with as a team, right? Like especially introducing new habits, and everybody's going to come up with their hey, their New Year's resolutions from that standpoint. And it sounds like Alice right here, like that would be a huge thing for you is like, okay, I've picked up my book. Let me set the timer so that I have the extra time now that I can even get in a 10 or 15-minute workout or walk or something like that.
Oh yeah, coincide my reading with my workout. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I do it that way, Alice. Like
Mm,
it's like a trigger of this is what I do, and this is just part of my standard for myself. Like
right.
I don't always want to. Like I said, I didn't read this morning, but I still did a quick lava because I wanted to stretch before I kayaked, knowing that I was going to work muscles that probably weren't going to feel so good after 5 hours of kayaking. But I was like, I'm going to read tonight before this call so that like I am still because you so feel it once you get in the habit of doing personal development and you don't do it a day. It's like the same thing with your shake. We all know that if you skip a day, which turns into 3 days, your body feels off. Like I didn't have my shake this weekend and I haven't pooped today, so that's a problem.
Uh,
But no, to your point, Katie, I mean, there's so many books on habits for sure. And I think that this is something as Belvital comes out, it's continual progress and empowering more of us to be intentional with it because we all have the time. How many people look at the message pod and aren't here?
Yeah.
We know what they're doing.
yeah.
They're just scrolling instead.
Mhm. And what scrolling does is it we
It
wonder
gives you a
why
dopamine hit, and that's what they're addicted to.
we have more anxiety and more negative thoughts. And like, you control what's on your feed, you control how much time you spend on it.
Yep.
There's tools in place that we can put to stop doing that, and other activities you can replace that time with. It's just keeping that habit going and reminding yourself why it's so important. So my homework for both of you before you go to sleep tonight is to plug into the pod and share your takeaway from tonight's chat. We'll do another one in probably 2 or 3 weeks. I gotta look at the schedule, what the rest of the month is. But you got a little sneak peek into what I'm thinking about for our new community that will not be on social media because I want to get it so far away from that. Especially with the election coming up. So,
Looking forward to that.
but I appreciate you guys both being here. Is there any other positive things you want to share before we head out?
Oh, I do want to say that um, last week's meeting, Danielle, you were giving me Brendan Burchard vibes, big
Oh,
time.
well,
Like how
thank
you want to, like still like coach people and whatever. I was like, oh yeah, nope, I can so see Danielle being, a high performance coach there. And then I listened to the Daily Fire. I'm like, yes, that's Danielle.
thank you. I
I was
appreciate
like,
that.
oh, you should take the class or whatever. It's like, yeah, Danielle really should take that class.
With all of his new stuff, and I have a call tomorrow with them more about the ambassador program and what works best for everyone. But obviously you guys love Growth Day too. But um, what was I gonna say? Oh, I do want to, like, I think it would be a really cool tool to bring to our bosses and say, for $199 to have 10 people do it for the year, that's like a seal, and it's personal growth for our professions. I mean, look how much it's improved for all of us. So it's definitely something that I have, because Katie knows for so long it's been business and career, and there's been a boundary between the two, where
Yeah,
now it's kind of like they get to blur in a very fun way. It's just having multiple avenues to do that. So I figured I'd share that with y'all because I'm sure there's people at work that would love to benefit from it too. So don't be bashful at sharing your free weeks as well.
definitely won't be.
All right, guys. Share your takeaways in the pod. Love you. Go to sleep. See you in the morning or tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.